You know, the older I get, the more I realize how many people out there won't watch a single movie that's older than them. That's a tragedy considering most movies released nowadays are trash, but that's why I'm here, so let's rectify this crime against God and good taste. Because today, the Movie Howze is here to retro-recommend. Man, do I miss old Kathryn Bigelow. She went from making some of the most kinetic and original action movies of the 80s and 90s to becoming just another bland Oscar baiter. She was James Cameron's contemporary. Well, I mean, she better have been. They fucked each other for years and remained filmmaking collaborators for years on out. And any woman that can deal with James Cameron for more than a day is a woman that shouldn't be underestimated. Point Break is her best film and one of the greatest action flicks ever made, but I think people are sorely missing out on another gem of her filmography. A movie that sadly almost completely destroyed her career. The criminally underseen 1995 cyberpunk neo-noir, Strange Days. A title that I found very apt. Set in Los Angeles during the final days of 1999, as the millennium looms under the shadow of civil unrest and entropy. The city is a powder keg waiting for the igniting spark following the death of a political activist and superstar rap icon, Jericho 1. Former LAPD detective Lenny Nero has turned to crime as a black market peddler of a new age digital narcotic, squids.
Superconducting quantum interference device, squid.
Recordings of memories alongside the physical sensations. In fact, I'll just let Mr. Nero explain.
This isn't like TV, only better. This is life, straight from the cerebral cortex. You're there. You're doing it, seeing it, hearing it. You're feeling it.
No matter how hard the sale, in reality he's just a slick-talking drug dealer, taking advantage of his former friends. Specifically Lornette Mason, or Mace for short, a chaperone bodyguard that still harbors feelings for Nero, remembering the good man he used to be and not the junkie peddler he is now. Nero's lifestyle catches up with him when he is sent a blackjack or snuff recording. Following the breadcrumbs of this heinous crime, he discovers an even bigger conspiracy that, if leaked, could start the new year off with blood on the streets. Produced and written by James Cameron, and inspired by all the events that orbited the 1992 LA riots, Strange Days feels just as prescient as it did back in 1995. Actually, even more so now in this current age of social media obsession, allowing us to live vicariously through others' thrills and successes. It may get the technology allowing us to do so archaically wrong, but the idea is still just as palpable. It's one of the most authentic cyberpunk movies Hollywood has ever made, a genre that I have a massive hard-on for, mixing the aesthetics of film noir and dystopian sci-fi. This ties into the visuals that Kathryn Bigelow employs here. That's the first thing that people are struck by when they give this flick a watch. Specifically the camera work for all of the squid sequences. Early Kathryn Bigelow films were all about the shot composition, amazing sense of style, and this is her at her most ambitious. Using a complex first-person perspective to help the audiences understand what makes this tech so addictive in its universe. There are shots I still have trouble wrapping my head around, and that leads to a word of warning before giving this film a watch. There are movies that no matter how much I enjoy them, they have an element that just makes me very uncomfortable, and it prohibits me from going full top-shelf cinema on them. This is one of those movies. It starts off by showing all the fun that could be had with the squid decks, to be sold Lenny's wares, but the grim reality sets in at the film's most horrific sequence. This is a spoiler, but I feel it needs to be brought out into the open so I don't sideswipe anybody who's given this a fresh watch. The blackjack in question that Lenny is sent is of a rape homicide through the eyes of the killer. Utilizing rape in a narrative requires the utmost of care and maturity. The problem is that so many trashy movies use it as simply a means of getting TNA into their crap movie, and it's just disgusting. That being said, Bigelow's story has a reason for this scene to happen, and she doesn't shoot it in a gratuitous way. But she still has to show to the audience how terrible it is as Lenny's mind is hijacked into finding pleasure into something so awful. That's how the squid technology works. You are feeling their sensation, their thrill, not yours. You are watching it, and your body is being hijacked into feeling those same emotions. It helps sell his immediate physical reaction after viewing it. It's traumatizing to him, same as it is for us. This wouldn't work if the cast wasn't so goddamn great. Ralph Fiennes may be Voldemort for a whole generation of folk, and he's undeniably great as the Dark Lord. But my favorite performances by him are when he's allowed to be a bit of a prima donna.
Honestly, oh dear God, what have you done to your fingernails?
I beg your pardon?
This diabolical varnish, the colour is completely wrong.
Oh really, don't you like it?
It's not that I don't like it, I am physically repulsed.
Oh shit.
What's the matter?
This tie doesn't go with blue.
Lenny is a prissy, manipulative addict, clinging to a past that no longer exists.
These are used emotions. Memories were meant to fade, Lenny. They're designed that way for a reason.
He needs to be at such a low point that he can grow by story's end into seeing the light. It's also really appreciated that while you could still see that he was a cop, His squid-addled brains mean he doesn't turn into a badass at the drop of a hat. He's kind of rubbish throughout the entirety of the movie, and that's really unique in this kind of flick. The secondary protagonist, on the other hand, doesn't have that problem. Mace is the reason why I, to this day, still have a mad crush for Angela Bassett. Not only is she absolutely stunning, she's an amazing actress. Mace is the kind of female lead I can get behind. She's cut from the same cloth as Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor, which makes sense considering that all these characters were written by the same dude. Further cementing that James Cameron appears to know how to write believable female characters better than anyone in the entire industry. She's not an unflappable superheroine robbing the story of any of its stakes. She's tough as nails, but never at the cost of denying her vulnerability or soft heart, as I've said before. Her and Fiennes have this really electric chemistry that isn't your traditional movie couple. Hell, it's pretty radical that Mace is usually the one saving Lenny, so the roles are just reversed for once. Filling out the rest of the cast is a gaggle of wonderful character actors, with the likes of Juliette Lewis, Michael Wincott, Vincent D'Onofrio, William Fichtner, Tom Sizemore, and Glenn Plummer, providing some big personalities into smaller roles. I hadn't seen this movie in a good long while, so rewatching it, it just made me remember what we lost when Kathryn Bigelow went legit. That happens to a lot of directors. It's not that her new movies are bad, it's just they lack the soul and kinetic enthusiasm that those early movies had. Like, give me Near Dark any day over Detroit, no matter how better polished the latter may be. The former has vampire Bill Paxton slaughtering a bar full of people, while the Krampus cover of You Give Me Fever is playing in the background.
Finger licking good.
And like much of her filmography, Strange Days moves like the Bluesmobile through a mall as it races towards one of my personal favorite climaxes in a movie. Without going into heavy spoilers, I love the fact that this movie has like this almost apocalyptic aura, meditating on the abuses of power and our over-reliance on technology.
Come on, man, cheer up. World's gonna end in 10 minutes anyway.
Only for it to end on this incredibly hopeful note. Crisis is averted, and the infectious jubilation of welcoming the new year takes hold, encompassing the best and worst aspects of humanity, with a riot almost breaking out while others prepare to kiss the ones they love in celebration. And this doesn't feel cheaply tacked on to me. It feels like the catharsis that this movie was working towards the entire time. Like previously stated, Strange Days was not a critical or commercial success upon release. In fact, it just flat out bombed, polarizing the critics and making like a fifth of its budget back. And that's not to say the film didn't have its fans. Roger Ebert at the time gave it 4 stars and said it was one of the best films in 1995, and I share those sentiments. Regardless, the movie has been just seemingly forgotten. The most I've ever heard about it in, remarks would be about how Fatboy Slim sampled a line Mace says in the movie for the song Right Here, Right Now.
This is your life! Right here, right now!
I'd love to see this flick get reevaluated and given the acclaim and attention I think it rightfully deserves, but that's easier said than done. Firstly, Fox hasn't released a Region 1 Blu-ray of this flick, meaning that American audiences can enjoy the incredible visuals in high definition. All they have is just a DVD copy. But more pressing is the fact that now that Disney owns Fox, I fear that this movie's going to go into the vault. And no, not the fun kind of vault that Disney normally employs, letting movies come back every 5 years or so. No, it's going to go to the vault where movies are left to be forgotten because they're off-brand. Although, if you look back on Fox's filmography, it's going to be with some great company in exile. You often hear the phrase, ahead of its time, thrown around a lot in regards to cult movies. Normies didn't know shit about computers back in 1982, so Tron didn't have a chance in hell, that kind of shit. And as cliche as it sounds, I feel Strange Days is victim to that idiom as well. It plays better now than it did back then, in my opinion, all the while still being a pretty gnarly time capsule for the mid-90s. If you can deal with the one sequence I warned you guys about earlier, then I would strongly recommend you give this film a watch, because in the end, Strange Days is some damn solid celluloid.
But that's enough for me. I'd like to hear what y'all thought now. Like, comment, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. But more importantly, until next time, stay safe out there.